The detective's words hit me like a sledgehammer. Your father in Germany just died searching for you. He left you everything, $2.1 billion. I stared at him from behind the mop bucket I'd been using to clean gas station bathrooms for the past 8 years. The industrial bleach burned my nostrils as I tried to process what this stranger in a $1,000 suit was saying. But there's a catch, he continued, pulling out a manila folder thick with official-looking documents. You have 72 hours to uncover why your mother really abandoned you, or the entire fortune goes to charity. My name is Colton Reeves. I'm 24 years old, and until this moment, my biggest concern was whether I'd have enough money for both rent and food this month. The man standing in front of me, Detective Raymond Holbrook, claimed he'd been searching for me for 3 years on behalf of some German billionaire who said he was my father. My father, who supposedly died when I was 2. You're telling me my dead father just left me $2 billion? I said, gripping the mop handle so tight my knuckles went white. Your father wasn't dead, Mr. Reeves. Wilhelm Richter spent the last 19 years and $43 million trying to find you. Holbrook's accent carried a slight German edge. He owned Richter Automotive Group, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche dealerships across Europe. My mother told me my father died in a car accident when I was 2. She showed me the obituary. Your mother lied. He placed a photograph on the grimy break room table. The man in the picture looked exactly like me, just 30 years older, standing next to a collection of luxury cars that cost more than I'd make in 1,000 lifetimes. This was taken 6 days ago, 3 hours before his heart gave out. He was still directing search teams from his hospital bed. The break room suddenly felt too small. This was insane. Things like this didn't happen to people like me. 8 years ago, my mother chose her alcoholic boyfriend, Frank Hutchison, over me. He's not worth the trouble, she'd said when Frank demanded she kick me out. Those exact words, like I was a broken appliance she was tired of fixing. Since then, I'd survived on my own, cleaning toilets at truck stops, mopping floors at fast food joints, doing whatever it took to keep a roof over my head. Why should I believe any of this? My voice came out rougher than intended. Holbrook pulled out another document, this one bearing official government seals. Because your inheritance is real but conditional, Wilhelm believed your mother was hiding something significant, something that would explain why she'd rather see you homeless than risk you discovering your real father was alive. You have 72 hours to uncover the truth and provide legal proof, or $2.1 billion goes to charity instead of you. Starting when? Starting now. The clock began ticking the moment I confirmed your identity. I looked down at my stained uniform shirt, at my cracked hands that smelled permanently of cleaning chemicals, at the life I'd built from nothing after my mother threw me away. Somewhere in Germany, a father I never knew existed had died trying to find me. My mother, Diane Reeves, had lied about everything. Her husband, Frank, the man she chose over her own son, had destroyed our family for reasons I was only beginning to understand. Where do I even start looking for a 22-year-old secret? With the woman who's been keeping it, Holbrook said. Your mother still lives in Denver, same house where she told you to leave 8 years ago. The same house where she looked me in the eye and decided I wasn't worth keeping. The same house where Frank Hutchison's drunken rages became more important than her 16-year-old son's safety. Now I had to go back there, face her, and uncover why she'd hidden my billionaire father's existence while watching me struggle to survive. 72 hours, I repeated, pulling off my work apron and dropping it on the table. Then let's go find out what my mother's been hiding that's worth $2 billion. Holbrook stood up, straightening his expensive suit. Mr. Reeves, your father believed this secret was dangerous enough that your mother chose to destroy your life rather than let it surface. Are you prepared for what you might discover? I thought about every night I'd spent hungry, every degrading job I'd taken to survive, every birthday that passed without a single call from the woman who gave birth to me. Detective, I've been living with her lies for 8 years. Whatever the truth is, it can't be worse than not knowing why my own mother threw me away like garbage. But I was wrong. The truth was worse. It was so much worse than I could have imagined. Life at 24 wasn't supposed to look like this. Every morning at 4 a.m., my phone alarm would rattle across the nightstand I'd built from salvaged milk crates, and I'd wake up in my one-room apartment above Gino's Pizza. The smell of old grease and garlic had permanently settled into the walls, into my clothes, into my skin no matter how many times I showered. Below me, I could hear Gino already prepping dough for the day, the rhythmic pounding a reminder that another day of survival had begun. My hands told my story better than any resume could. Cracked and raw from industrial cleaning chemicals, nails permanently stained despite endless scrubbing, small scars from 8 years of whatever work I could find. These weren't the hands of a 24-year-old college graduate or young professional. These were the hands of someone who'd learned that dignity was a luxury I couldn't afford. "Colton, bathroom in stall 3 needs attention." My supervisor, Hector, would call out at the truck stop where I worked nights. He wasn't cruel about it, just matter of fact. That was my job. The messes nobody else wanted to deal with. Truckers weren't known for their bathroom etiquette, and stall 3 was notorious for being the worst. I'd grab my supplies, the industrial yellow gloves, the bleach that made my eyes water, and get to work. While scrubbing those toilets, I'd think about my life before 16. Back when I had a real bed instead of a second-hand mattress on the floor. Back when I could open the refrigerator without calculating whether I could afford to replace what I ate. Back when I had a mother who loved me, or at least I thought she did. Our old house in Denver had been nothing special, but it was home. A 2-story colonial with peeling yellow paint and a kitchen where Mom would make Sunday pancakes shaped like Mickey Mouse. "You're my whole world, Colt," she'd say, dancing to the radio while flipping pancakes. "It's you and me against the universe, kiddo." That was before Frank Hutchison knocked on our door selling insurance and stayed for 5 years. Frank had the kind of charm that should have set off warning bells. Tall, well-dressed, always ready with a compliment for my mother. "Diane, you look absolutely radiant today," he'd say, while his eyes were already calculating what he could take from us. Mom fell hard and fast. Within 3 months, he'd moved in. Within 6 months, the drinking started. The transformation happened gradually, like watching ice slowly crack before it shatters completely. First came the sunglasses worn indoors. "Just a headache," Mom would explain, then the long sleeves in summer. "The air conditioning at work is too cold." I wasn't stupid. I could hear their fights through the walls, Frank's voice getting louder with each beer, Mom's getting smaller. "Your son doesn't respect me, Diane," Frank would slur, usually after his 8th or 9th drink of the night. "He looks at me like I'm some kind of monster." "He's just adjusting," Mom would plead. "Give him time." But I never adjusted. How could I? This man had invaded our home, turned my mother into someone I didn't recognize, and acted like I was the problem. I started staying out later, crashing at friends' houses, anything to avoid being home when Frank was drunk, which was most nights. The breaking point came 2 days after my 16th birthday. Frank had been laid off from his insurance job, and the drinking went from bad to catastrophic. I came home from school to find Mom crying in the kitchen, a bruise spreading across her cheek like spilled wine. "We're leaving," I told her, grabbing her hand. "Right now. Pack a bag and we're gone." She pulled away from me. "It's not that simple, Colton." "Yes, it is. He's hitting you. We leave, we call the police, we never come back." That's when Frank walked in, steady enough to be dangerous. "Calling the police? That would be a mistake, boy." "I'm not afraid of you," I said, standing between him and my mother. "Diane, control your son or I'm gone," Frank said, his voice cold and measured. "You know what happens if I leave. You'll have nothing. No house, no car, no money. Nothing." I turned to my mother, expecting her to finally stand up to him. Instead, she looked at me with eyes I'd never seen before. Empty, defeated, calculated. "Colton," she said quietly, "you need to leave." "What?" "Frank's right. You're making things worse. You're old enough to take care of yourself. He's not worth losing everything over." Those words still echo in my mind during the quiet hours at night. He's not worth losing everything over. Not your, but he's. Like I was some stranger she was discussing, not her son, not the child she'd raised alone for 11 years before Frank appeared. I packed what I could carry in my school backpack and left that night. No dramatic goodbye, no tears from her, just Frank watching from the doorway with a satisfied smirk. The last thing my mother said to me was, "You'll be fine. You're resourceful." Resourceful. That's what you call someone when you're abandoning them and need to convince yourself they'll survive. Monday started like any other until Detective Raymond Holbrook walked into the truck stop at 6 a.m. The morning rush was just beginning, truckers grabbing coffee and breakfast burritos before hitting the road. I was restocking paper towels in the men's bathroom when Hector found me. "Colton, there's some fancy-looking guy asking for you," he said, eyeing me suspiciously. "You in trouble?" My first instinct was to run. When you live like I do, official-looking people asking questions never means good news. But something about Hector's description made me curious. Fancy-looking people didn't come to truck stops at dawn unless something significant was happening. The man waiting by the registers looked completely out of place. Gray-haired, probably 60, wearing a suit that cost more than I made in 6 months. His shoes alone could have paid my rent. He stood perfectly straight, scanning the room until his eyes landed on me. "Colton Reeves?" His voice carried a subtle German accent, professional, but not unkind. "I haven't done anything wrong," I said, immediately defensive, my hand instinctively checking that my wallet was still in my pocket. "I know. In fact, I'm here because something remarkable has been done for you." He pulled out a leather folder. "My name is Detective Raymond Holbrook. I work for the Richter estate in Munich, Germany. I've been searching for you for 3 years. I think you have the wrong person. I don't know anyone in Germany. You know one person, though you've never met him. Your father, Wilhelm Richter. In America, he went by William Reeves." The words hit me like ice water. "My father died when I was 2. Car accident in Colorado. My mother showed me the obituary." Holbrook shook his head slowly, pulling out a photograph from his folder. "Your father died 6 days ago in Munich, Mr. Reeves. He spent the last 19 years searching for you." The photograph showed a man, standing in front of a glass building with the Richter Automotive Group logo. The resemblance was undeniable. Same jaw structure, same eyes, even the same way of standing with weight slightly shifted to the left foot. It was like looking at myself in 30 years. "That's impossible," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Mom said he died. There was a funeral. She had his death certificate." "All fabricated," Holbrook replied, pulling out more documents. "Your mother kidnapped you when you were 2 years old. She fled Germany in the middle of the night, created new identities for both of you, and disappeared. Wilhelm only learned you existed when you were 5, through a relative who spotted your photo on your mother's social media account. She'd gotten careless, thought enough time had passed." My legs felt weak. I grabbed the counter for support. "You're telling me my mother kidnapped me from my father and faked his death?" "That's exactly what I'm telling you. Wilhelm Richter spent $43 million on private investigators, rewards, digital tracking systems, anything to find you. He hired 15 different detective agencies across 7 countries. I was number 15. Holbrook spread more papers on the counter. Bank statements showing massive payments to investigation firms. Flight records from Wilhelm's private jet crisscrossing America. Photos of him at age progression centers, having experts create images of what I might look like at different ages. He owned Richter Automotive Group," Holbrook continued. "Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche, Bentley dealerships across Europe. When traditional methods failed to find you, he bought data from social media companies, hired hackers, even considered going public with a massive reward. But your mother had hidden you well. Why didn't he contact the police? The FBI?" "He tried. But your mother was clever. She had documents suggesting Wilhelm was dangerous, unstable, falsified medical records claiming he'd been institutionalized for violent behavior. By the time he could prove those were fake, you'd vanished again. I thought about all the times we'd moved when I was young. Mom always said it was for better opportunities, but there was always urgency to it. Middle of the school year, leaving friends behind, new names for me at different schools. Colton, Cole, CJ, never staying long enough for anyone to really know us." "He never stopped looking," Holbrook said softly. "The search consumed him. His health deteriorated from the stress. 6 days ago, he had a massive heart attack while reviewing surveillance footage from a truck stop in Montana, thinking he might have spotted you. What do you want from me?" "Nothing. I'm here to give you something." Holbrook pulled out the largest document yet. "Your father left you everything. His entire estate. $2.1 billion. The number didn't feel real. I made $11 an hour cleaning toilets. 2 billion was a concept, not an amount. But there's a condition, Holbrook continued, pointing to a highlighted section. You must uncover and provide legal proof of why your mother really took you and kept you hidden. You have 72 hours from the moment I confirmed your identity, which was 5 minutes ago. What happens if I can't? The entire estate goes to the International Children's Foundation. Wilhelm believed your mother was hiding something significant, something that would explain why she'd rather see you homeless than risk you discovering your real father was alive. I stared at the estate documents, my mind racing through possibilities I'd never imagined. 72 hours to uncover a secret my mother had protected for 22 years. The smart move would be hiring a lawyer, but Holbrook explained the terms were ironclad. I had to investigate personally, no proxies, no representatives. Where do I even start? I asked, still gripping the counter like it might disappear beneath me. Your mother still lives in Denver, same house, though Frank Hutchison died 3 years ago. Liver failure. The irony tasted bitter. She chose him over me, and he drank himself to death anyway. 3 years. She'd been alone for 3 years and never once tried to find me, to apologize, to explain. I can drive you there, Holbrook offered. I have a rental car outside. During the drive, I can fill you in on everything I know about your father's life. I looked around the truck stop, at the fluorescent lights that gave everything a sickly yellow tinge, at the coffee-stained floor I'd mopped 1,000 times, at Hector watching from behind the register with confusion written across his face. 8 years of my life spent in places like this, surviving on pennies while my father searched for me with millions. Hector, I called out, walking over to him. I quit. Family emergency. You can't just quit, Colton. You need to give 2 weeks' notice. I pulled off my name tag and set it on the counter. I've given this place 8 years, Hector. That's enough notice. The drive to Denver took 4 hours. Holbrook's rental car was a Mercedes, the leather seats softer than my apartment's couch. As we drove through the Colorado mountains, he told me about Wilhelm Richter, the father I never knew. He started with one dealership in Munich, Holbrook explained, built it into an empire spanning 12 countries. But after you disappeared, the business became secondary. His executives ran the company while he searched for you. Tell me about these homes he kept for me. 7 properties total. Munich, Berlin, London, Paris, Monaco, New York, and Los Angeles. Each one has a room for you, updated annually. The Munich mansion has a gaming room with every console ever made, because he didn't know what you'd like. The Paris apartment has musical instruments in case you were artistic. London has a library with thousands of books. He didn't even know me. That's what hurt him most. He had a son somewhere in the world and didn't know if you liked sports or music, science or art, if you were happy or struggling. The not knowing ate him alive. As we drove, I thought about what I was heading toward. The yellow house where my childhood ended. The woman who birthed me and then discarded me. The secret she'd protected even as it destroyed both our lives. What can you tell me about the night we disappeared? I asked. Very little confirmed fact. Wilhelm came home from a business trip to find you both gone. Your clothes, toys, everything vanished. The neighbors heard nothing. Your mother had withdrawn $30,000 from various accounts over the previous month, small amounts to avoid attention. She'd planned it carefully. Did they have problems? Were they divorcing? By all accounts, they were happy. Wilhelm was devastated not just by losing you, but by the betrayal. He couldn't understand what he'd done wrong, what had driven her to run. Denver's skyline appeared on the horizon, and my stomach tightened. 8 years since I'd seen this city. 8 years since I'd stood on that doorstep with my backpack, 16 and terrified, while my mother chose her alcoholic boyfriend over her son. What if she won't tell me anything? I asked. Then you lose $2 billion, Holbrook said simply. But I've found that confronting someone with evidence of their lies often produces unexpected results. We pulled up to the house at 3 p.m. The yellow paint had faded to beige, and the garden Mom once loved was overgrown with weeds. The mailbox still said Reeves in faded letters. Frank's truck was gone, of course, but Mom's old Honda sat in the driveway, more rust than car now. Do you want me to come with you? Holbrook asked. No, this is between me and her. I walked up the cracked pathway, noting the broken porch step I'd always meant to fix. The doorbell had never worked, so I knocked. the sound echoing through the afternoon quiet. My heart pounded so hard I wondered if this was how Wilhelm felt during his heart attack, searching for a son who was cleaning toilets while he died. The door opened, and there she was. Diane Reeves, my mother, looking like she'd aged 20 years in 8. Her hair, once blonde and vibrant, hung gray and limp. Deep lines carved paths through her face. She wore a housecoat I recognized from before, now threadbare and stained. When she saw me, her face went white, her hand flying to her chest. "Colton." "Hello, Mom." She stood frozen in the doorway, her mouth opening and closing without words coming out. Finally, she managed, "How did you find me?" "I never left Denver, Mom. I've been 40 minutes away, cleaning truck stop bathrooms while you sat here in this house." I pushed past her into the living room. Everything was exactly the same, just older, shabbier. The couch where Frank used to pass out drunk, the coffee table with its cigarette burns, even the smell of stale beer lingered in the walls. "You shouldn't be here," she said, her voice shaking. "It's not safe." "Not safe? You kicked me out 8 years ago to live on the streets, and now you're concerned about my safety?" I turned to face her. "Dad's dead. My real dad. The one you told me died in a car accident when he was actually spending millions searching for me." The color drained from her face completely. She grabbed the back of a chair for support. "You don't understand. Wilhelm Richter. Ring any bells? Because his detective found me, and there's $2 billion at stake, but only if you tell me the truth about why you ran." $2 billion? She laughed, but it sounded more like a sob. "He always did everything to excess." "Start talking, Mom. Why did you kidnap me? Why did you fake his death? Why did you choose Frank over me when keeping me could have exposed your secret?" She walked to her bedroom without a word. I followed, watching as she pushed aside old clothes in her closet and pulled out a metal box I'd never seen before. Her hands shook as she opened it, revealing documents, photographs, and newspaper clippings, all in German. "Your father wasn't who you think," she began, sitting on the bed with the box between us. "Yes, he was wealthy, successful, brilliant. But Wilhelm had a brother, Ernst Richter. They built the company together, from nothing." She handed me a photograph of 2 young men standing in front of a small auto shop. Wilhelm I recognized immediately. The other looked similar but harder, his smile not reaching his eyes. Ernst was the financial genius. Wilhelm was the visionary. Together they were unstoppable, but Ernst had ambitions beyond cars. He was involved with dangerous people, money laundering through the dealerships, drugs, weapons, things Wilhelm never knew about. She pulled out a newspaper clipping. The headline was in German, but she translated, "Richter executive dies in suspicious factory fire." This was 3 days before we fled. Ernst was embezzling from the company. Millions. When Wilhelm discovered it, Ernst went insane. "He came to our house that night, Colton. You were 2 years old, sleeping in your crib." Her voice cracked as she continued. "Ernst had a gun. He was drunk, raging. He said if Wilhelm didn't transfer his shares of the company, he'd kill us all, starting with you. He actually went to your room, pointed the gun at your crib." "What happened to Ernst?" "The fire at the factory. It happened that same night, after he left our house. Wilhelm said it was an accident, an electrical problem. But I knew better. The timing was too convenient. Ernst died in that fire, and I knew Wilhelm had arranged it to protect us. So Dad killed his brother to save us? To save you. You were everything to him, but Ernst had partners, associates in his illegal dealings. They blamed Wilhelm for Ernst's death. They made threats, said they'd take revenge on Wilhelm's family. These weren't empty threats, Colton. These were killers." She pulled out another document, a police report. 2 days after Ernst died, someone tried to break into our house. Wilhelm had bodyguards by then, but I knew we'd never be safe. Every stranger could be an assassin. Every car that followed us too long could be them. "So you ran?" Wilhelm insisted. He put us on a plane that night with new identities, promised he'd follow once he'd dealt with Ernst's associates. But they were everywhere, had connections throughout Europe and America. Every time Wilhelm tried to contact us, they'd get closer to finding us. "Then why fake our deaths? It was the only way to make everyone stop looking. I sent proof through an intermediary that we'd died in a car accident. Photos of a burned car, forged death certificates. It devastated Wilhelm, but it also saved him. If he wasn't looking for us, Ernst's people had no reason to watch him. What about Frank? Why choose him over me? Her face crumpled. Frank found this box 5 years ago. He was drunk, tearing apart the house looking for money. He found everything and sobered up real quick when he realized what it meant. He researched Wilhelm online, saw how rich he'd become. Frank threatened to contact Wilhelm to expose us unless I did what he wanted, which was getting rid of me. He was paranoid that someone would recognize you as Wilhelm's son as you got older. You look exactly like him, Colton. Frank said having you around was too dangerous, that if anyone made the connection, Ernst's old associates would find us. He made me choose, kick you out or he'd reveal everything. And you chose him. I thought I was still protecting you. If you were away from me, away from these secrets, you'd be safe. Frank promised he'd keep quiet if you were gone. She pulled out one final envelope from the box, sealed with wax bearing the Richter family crest. This arrived through a lawyer 5 years ago, 3 years after you left. I never opened it. I was too afraid of what it might say. My hands trembled as I broke the seal. Inside was a letter in elegant handwriting, dated just months after Frank died. My dearest Diane, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and perhaps enough time has passed for the truth to finally set us free. Ernst's associates are all dead or imprisoned now. It took me 15 years, but I eliminated every threat. The forensic evidence from the factory fire that killed Ernst has been destroyed. There is no proof of what happened that night, only a tragic accident that claimed my brother's life. Our son can come home safely. I've spent every day searching for you both, knowing you're alive somewhere despite the death certificates you sent. I forgive you for trying to protect him. A parent does desperate things for their child. I know because I did desperate things for mine. Please, bring him home. Let me finally meet my son. With eternal love, Wilhelm. I looked at my mother, tears streaming down both our faces. He knew we were alive. He knew everything. And he spent the rest of his life searching for you, she whispered. I destroyed our family trying to save it. Detective Holbrook authenticated the documents within hours. The letter, the police reports, the evidence of Ernst's crimes, all of it proved why my mother had run. The estate lawyers confirmed I'd met the conditions. The $2.1 billion inheritance was mine. 3 weeks later, I stood in the Munich mansion my father left me. The walls were covered with photographs of me at every age he could find, school photos purchased from yearbook companies, surveillance footage from places we'd lived, even a blurry image from a security camera at the truck stop where I'd worked. Each photo was labeled with the date and his handwritten notes. Age 7, missing front tooth. Age 14, playing basketball at park. Age 20, working late shift, looks tired but healthy. The room he'd kept for me changed through the years as I aged. Toys became books. Books became gaming systems. Gaming systems became car keys to vehicles I couldn't have imagined owning. He'd updated it annually, guessing at who I might be, what I might like, preparing for a reunion that never came. Mom and I talk now, though it's complicated. She lives with the guilt of her choices, understanding that in trying to protect me from a threat, she created a worse reality. She could have opened that letter 3 years ago, learned we were safe, found me, and brought me home to my father. Instead, she let fear rule her life, while Wilhelm died searching and I survived on minimum wage. Frank died alone in that house, his liver finally giving out from decades of alcohol abuse. He gained 3 years of controlling my mother through blackmail and fear, but in the end, his grave sits unmarked and unmourned. The man my mother chose over her son became nothing more than a footnote in our tragic story. I kept working at the truck stop for 1 more month after inheriting everything. Hector thought I'd completely lost my mind until I explained I needed to say goodbye properly to the life that shaped me. Those 8 years of struggle taught me resilience that my father's money never could have. They taught me the value of earned dollars, the dignity in hard work, the strength that comes from surviving when no one helps you. With the inheritance, I created the Colton Reeves Foundation, which helps abandoned teenagers aging out of foster care. We provide housing, education, job training, and something even more important, the knowledge that someone is looking for them. My father searched for me his entire life. Now I search for kids who have nobody searching for them. Last year, we helped 300 teenagers find stability and hope. I visit Wilhelm's grave in Munich every month. His headstone reads, A father's love knows no borders, no time limits, no surrender. I tell him about the kids we're helping, about the business I'm learning to run, about the life I'm building with his legacy. Sometimes I bring flowers, sometimes just stories. I tell him I understand why he did what he did to Ernst, that a parent's love can drive them to unthinkable acts. The detective was right about one thing. Every family has secrets. Some are kept to cause harm, others to prevent it. My mother learned too late that the most dangerous secret is the truth we're too afraid to face. She gained 3 years with an abusive drunk and lost a lifetime with her son. She protected me from a danger that no longer existed while exposing me to the very real danger of homelessness and poverty. Last week, I cleaned the bathroom at a local shelter I fund, not because I had to, but because I choose to remember where I came from. Whether you're worth $2 or $2 billion, your character is defined by what you survived, not what you inherited. My father knew that. Maybe that's why he made me uncover the truth myself, forcing me to understand that even in the darkest deceptions, love finds a way to protect what matters most. His final gift wasn't the money. It was teaching me that sometimes the very thing we run from is exactly what we need to embrace to finally be free. If this story touched your heart, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below about a family secret that changed your life, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more powerful true stories every week. Remember, your past doesn't define your worth, but it does shape your strength.